There was a small island, far from the coast, where the sea was always rough and the sky was almost always gray. The wind never stopped howling, and the lighthouse at the center of the island stood like a silent watcher. Tall and cold, never blinking. The island was called Stonemoor, and it was home to a private psychiatric facility for people who had gone too far from reason to return on their own. Only a handful of staff lived there, and few people came to visit. It was a place forgotten by the world. One cold morning in early autumn, a man named Elias Granger arrived on a ferry. He wore a long coat, carried a leather bag, and moved with the confidence of someone used to being in control. He was a government inspector, or so the staff were told. He had been sent to investigate reports of abuse, hidden experiments, and illegal treatments at the facility. The rumors had been spreading quietly, and the government had finally decided to act. Elias had been chosen to lead the inspection. The head physician, Dr. Rowan, greeted Elias with a calm smile. She was an older woman with a sharp mind and cool manner. She gave Elias a tour of the hospital, showing him the patient quarters, the therapy rooms, and the offices. Everything seemed in order. The patients looked calm, even peaceful. The nurses were polite. The walls were clean and the doors were locked. Still, something didn't feel right. Elias spent his first night on the island in the guest quarters. The wind screamed outside the window and the waves crashed against the rocky shore. He had strange dreams of water rushing into rooms, of a woman standing by the sea, her face hidden by her long hair. When he woke, his pillow was damp with sweat. Each day, Elias wandered the hospital, taking notes, watching the patients, and asking questions. He kept looking for signs of the hidden experiments he had read about. Some patients spoke in riddles. One woman kept scratching the walls with her nails. A man stared at the lighthouse from his window, murmuring something about the top room. Elias tried to speak with them, but their words were hard to follow. Still, they left him uneasy. There were rumors among the staff that the top floor of the lighthouse had been sealed off years ago. It was no longer in use, they said, but no one ever went up there. When Elias asked about it, Dr. Rowan gave a small laugh and said the stairs were unsafe. The subject was dropped quickly. Elias began having more dreams. He saw a small girl in a red dress standing by the sea. She never spoke, but she looked at him with eyes full of sorrow. Her presence haunted him. Every morning, he woke feeling like something terrible had happened, though he could not remember what. One evening, he found a file in Dr. Rowan's office. It had no name on it, just a number patient 42. The file said the patient had arrived 2 years ago, after a severe psychological break. The patient believed he was someone else entirely and had created a false identity to avoid remembering a painful event. The therapy plan included allowing the patient to live out his fantasy under controlled conditions, in the hope that he would eventually confront the truth. There were no photos, and the file ended suddenly, with a note saying, "If breakthrough does not occur within 2 years, final treatment must be considered." Elias felt something stir inside him. The number 42 seemed familiar. He looked through the records again, but could not find any trace of the patient on the island. Later that night, Elias walked out to the lighthouse. The wind nearly knocked him over, and the rocks were slick with sea spray. The heavy wooden door was locked, but he managed to force it open. Inside, the air smelled of salt and dust. He climbed the spiral stairs slowly. Each step echoed. At the top, he found a small room, empty except for a chair and a table. On the wall was a mirror. He looked at his reflection and saw something strange. For a moment, he did not recognize the man in the glass. He saw a face full of pain, not strength. He saw tired eyes, not confident ones. He saw a man who was running from something. Back in his room, Elias stared at himself in the mirror. He opened his bag and looked through the papers he had brought. There were letters, old ones, and a photograph. The picture showed a young girl in a red dress and a woman standing beside her. The woman had kind eyes and long dark hair. On the back, someone had written, "To Elias, come home soon." The memories began to come back slowly, like waves breaking through a wall. Elias had not always been an inspector. He had once been a teacher, living in a small town by the coast. He had a daughter named Anna and a wife named Clara. They were happy, or so it seemed. But Clara had struggled with sadness that would not lift. She had moments of silence, long days of staring into nothing. Elias had tried to help, but he had not understood how deep the darkness went. One summer evening, Clara had taken Anna down to the water. The tide was strong. They never came back. Their bodies were found the next day. Clara had drowned their daughter and then walked into the sea herself. Elias had broken apart. The pain was too much. He could not bear to remember. He blamed himself. He told the police that Clara had vanished, that maybe it was an accident. But deep down, he knew the truth. He couldn't live with it. That was when the mind began to protect itself. He invented a new identity, a man with purpose, with control, with no past to haunt him. He became Elias Granger, the investigator. He imagined a mission, a reason to explore this island. He needed to find the truth, but not the truth about the hospital. The truth about himself. The staff had played along. The real Dr. Rowan had approved the plan. The nurses had watched carefully. The patients had remained silent. They had allowed him to act out the fantasy, hoping he would face the truth on his own. And now, he had. The next morning, Elias did not leave his room. Dr. Rowan came to see him. She found him sitting at the desk, holding the photograph of his family. His eyes were red, but his voice was calm. He told her he remembered now. He knew who he was. He knew what had happened. The doctors called it a breakthrough. He was quiet that day, reflective. He sat by the window and looked out at the sea. He said nothing as the waves crashed against the cliffs. For a brief time, there was hope. But the next morning, he greeted the staff with a smile and asked for his bag. He said he had to finish his report. He asked about the lighthouse again. He referred to Dr. Rowan as the administrator. He asked where the other investigator had gone. The staff exchanged quiet looks. Dr. Rowan nodded slowly. She walked outside and looked toward the lighthouse. The sea was calm that day, and the fog had lifted. The top window of the lighthouse reflected the morning sun. The final treatment was scheduled. Elias sat quietly as they led him through the hallway. His eyes were clear, but his mind was already slipping away. The photograph had been removed from his room. The name Patient 42 was written once again on the file. In the records, it said, "Subject relapsed within 24 hours of breakthrough. Severe trauma response. Lobotomy authorized." The staff did not speak of the man after that. The room he once used was emptied, and the lighthouse door was sealed again. Another storm came a week later, and the sea reclaimed the cliffs with its roaring strength. But sometimes, when the fog clears, some say you can see a figure standing at the window of the lighthouse. A man with a long coat staring out at the horizon, as if waiting for someone to return. No one knows if he sees the sea, the sky, or something lost deep within himself. The island remained quiet. The patients whispered only to themselves. The staff moved on. And the lighthouse stood still, a monument to memory, pain, and the fragile mind of a man who had once tried to forget too much.